Well, we finally reached the national season for 2026, and all eyes are on these next few weeks as heroes are going to be earning points based on their wins across the national championship season. And of course, if you've been following along with Flesh and Blood leaderboard status, there are several heroes that are quite close to reaching the living legend status. And if, of course, one of those heroes does indeed reach that point, they will not be playable for the remainder of National Championship season or into the Pro Tour in Las Vegas, which is rapidly approaching. And I did some quick and dirty math, and I want to share with you who I think is going to indeed reach that precipice. So let's start by talking about the Nationals season. National championships are, of course, starting like right now, tomorrow. We saw the results of U.S. Nationals, which always goes first, and it went to Gravy Bones. And if we pop over here, I believe they've actually updated it. Let's see. This was updated as of June 15th. After, that's the word that I meant to say, National Championship USA. And of course, we see Gravy Bones earned a pretty 50 points, putting him very close to halfway to that marker of reaching the living legend status. But we're not going to start here. In fact, we're going to start down here at the list of national championships. These are all of the countries that are getting a national championship. I counted this up. It's 48 countries, counting the USA. Of course, if you're looking to try and figure out how many total living legend points are up for grabs so that you can kind of see which of these heroes are going to be gobbling up points based on metagame and, like what deck is exciting right now and people are going to be maybe picking up, you kind of have to know this number first. So if we take out the US because it's already happened and the 50 points have already been awarded, and we look at the rest, there's 47 countries, okay? Now, these are capped at 152, up to 152. This larger chunk is capped at up to 128, and then these smaller ones are up to 80, up to 64, and up to 32. Now, that matters because if we go to the Living Legend Leaderboard section, the National Championship caps dictate how many points are awarded to these various, national championship winners. So whatever hero gobbles up the points for whatever cap is assigned, it will be worth that many points. So we can actually get a good estimate right now of how many points are available and on the board. So after doing some quick and dirty math, it would appear that if all of these hit cap and make it to, their allotted cap totals, based on this number, there's about 700 points still available. Now, I think that number is subject to change based on if they hit the cap, but I could be wrong. It could just be that these are all assigned that many points. But with 700 more points to play around with, that can help us sort of be informed on how many of these heroes are actually in danger of hitting that point total. So first things first, Prism sits atop the Living Legend leaderboard at 951 points, but Prism right now is not necessarily one of those decks that just immediately shoots to the top of the metagame. That being said, Prism is one of those fan favorite heroes, so while she doesn't have a major metagame share, and she does have some tough matchups, I think she is most likely, and this is a weird caveat because just like Phi sat towards the top of the Living Legend leaderboard for so long, not really doing anything, and even before that, Viserai way down here, who's now of course crossed the Living Legend status. Viserai was the same way. They just kind of hovered at the same exact point forever. Prism also has the capacity to do this, but I do think she is going to cross the finish line here in this national season. All she would really need to do is gobble up some small share of the middling to small tournaments, and she could probably get there. She's at 49 points necessary, so there is a world where she just kind of crosses that finish line, which I think would be interesting to watch happen because I am imagining that we would get Prism 3 in this next set. I think if you're thinking long term and you think Dusk Till Dawn was when Prism 2 came out, Prism Awakener of Soul, that was back in 2024, 2023, 24, right? No, I think that was 2023. Holy crap. Yeah, 23, because after that was Bright Lights and then Heavy Hitters. So yeah, dang, it's 2023. It's been 3 years. You can kind of assume that Prism is going to hit the Living Legend status within those 3 years from an LSS perspective, and so you would design another hero to supplant her. Maybe not exactly another Prism, but maybe it is another Prism because she is so iconic to the game. So understanding that, it would make sense that they might have another Prism down in the pipeline all ready to go with this next set 20. And it would actually be kind of perfect for Prism 2 to hand the torch to Prism 3. We could indeed see that take place. But a hero I do think is going to successfully cross the finish line, and in rather, I guess, pomp and circumstantial fashion, is Victor Goldmane High and Mighty. He needs literally 101 points. And there are a lot of points up for grabs. I do think a Victor or two is going to take down this top spot within one of these larger point spreads here. I would imagine that a Victor could get across the finish line in one of these. I would imagine they could probably get across the finish line in one of these as well. Victor is a very strong hero. Victor almost won, put himself in a very good position to win US Nationals as well. And what that equates to is Victor probably riding off on his horse, or maybe he is the horse, who knows? Either way, riding off into the sunset and becoming a living legend hero from that point forward. And then the real question becomes, what about Fi? I really do think Fi is perhaps the most exciting, which is a weird thing to say because Fi's been around for forever and won a world championship back in 2023. Fi is perhaps the most exciting of the recent surging forward in popularity heroes. And so I think Fi's going to get picked up by a lot of people. And I think Fi just has the capacity to say, I'm just going to blow you up. I'm just going to use my cards. I'm going to use Art of Phoenix War. I'm going to find 2 of them. I'm going to put them all on the chain. I'm going to draw a bunch of cards and I'm going to send 1 billion damage. I think that's what's going to happen. And I think Fi actually gets very close. I think there's a chance that he becomes the new Prism, sitting at 20 points to LL. But at the same time, I do think he could also go. If you made me bet on whether or not Fi was going to cross the finish line, oh man, I think this is as close to the perfect line as possible. 146 points. If you were setting a betting line in Vegas, this was probably the perfect line, because this is a hero that is getting so popular, is solid, and as far as overall play lines, is not the hardest hero in the world to understand, has huge power. It's the Syndra of yesteryear. I mean, technically he's Syndra 1.0. Either way, what I'm saying is he's going to be picked up far more than he was previous to this. He's going to be run out there in a lot more scenarios and a lot more tournaments, and there's a chance he does gobble up enough points. But for him to do that along with Victor needs 101. Fi would need 146. It would actually be kind of hard for all 3 of these heroes to rotate when there are so many other options in a very wide open metagame. So I don't necessarily see all 3 of these heroes rotating in one go. I think that would actually be rather difficult for them to do so. So I'll probably say that Fi doesn't cross the finish line. Victor does cross the finish line. Prism barely crosses the finish line. And then the next question would be Kasai of the Golden Sand, a hero that is very near and dear to my heart. And I'm just going to come back here. The reason I'm making this video, I literally sat down to do the numbers to see whether or not Kasai is going to have the opportunity to really engage with the Mastery Pack Warrior in a meaningful way before she rides off into the sunset herself, or maybe runs off with a band of, pirates. She's a pirate, y'all. Okay, she's literally she hires her crew. She has an army. She raised that army, and now they're gonna take to the seas. No, that's not probably what's going to happen. But either way, my question and the prompting of this video was literally for me to figure out if Kasai is going to rotate. I don't think she is. I think she's really good, but the data suggests that this is actually a tough matchup. I think her Fi matchup is actually relatively good. It reminds me of the Syndra matchup, and I'll be honest with you, she ate Syndra for breakfast, lunch, and a little bit for dinner. because Kasai has a great time into ninjas if played correctly. And sometimes if you just get a little lucky, it gets even easier. But it's a fun back and forth matchup. It's a challenge, but it's fun. So Kasai, I'm going to say she does not rotate this national season. I think she will be playable. Maybe there's some like weird off chance that she rotates at the calling. Oh, wait, no, the calling. Yeah, the calling is classic constructed over at the Pro Tour. And I don't know if there's a ton of other callings out there. I think there's like one in Shenzhen or something like that. So there's a chance that she hits some points in other places, but not a lot of people are jumping on the Kasai bandwagon when Phi and Victor are so popular right now, and when there are other heroes that are kind of popping up out of the woodwork, like Ziggy had a fantastic showing, and people are changing the way that they build Acilio, and Gravy is now popular. Kasai has some good times into some of those heroes and some really not good times into others. So I think she will stick around for a little while longer, and we will say goodbye to her perhaps towards the end of this year after maybe a few more calling wins. Kasai is definitely on my thoughts, though, in my thoughts and prayers. And then Dio is probably not going to rotate until the end of the year, but this is where I think we stand as far as national season. These are the heroes that I think will rotate. Victor, for sure. Prism, maybe limping across. And what at one point we thought was maybe going to be a season where we see up to 4 heroes rotate. I think when we actually kind of temper our expectations, we end up seeing perhaps 2 heroes rotate, maybe 3 if they gobble up points. But the meta is so wide open at this point that I think there's going to be far more of a spread across this hero pool, and we're going to get more, like points being gobbled up by some of these heroes that are down here. Heck, even Vincent can pick up a couple. I think we might have like a surprise like Fang pick up like a win from somewhere. This is really what I think is going to happen. This metagame has been well crafted by LSS, and it means that a lot more heroes are going to gobble up a lot more points, and a lot less heroes are going to rotate than I think some people thought. So whether you like that or not, I think the metagame is in such a place that heroes are actually going to be spreading the points around far more than maybe expected and be sticking around for perhaps a little bit longer. But let me know what you think about this in a comment below, because I want to hear from you. And if you want more Flesh and Blood content, of course, make the number. Go to the other number. As always, everybody, thanks for watching.